Bennett Motorsport team. Stevie McCall will be egging them on from the pit wall, no doubt. Now then, through they go, out onto the long straight. Bit of a climb up there. Great battle then going on mid-order. Nicky Meredith still leading this little batch of cars from Ben Power. Richard Pocklington looks up the inside, and I think he's gone through. Richard Pocklington does indeed go through, makes up a position on Ben Power. So Richard Pocklington having a good run here, and I think he's got the line down into the next corner, as we see Ross Marshall looking round the outside behind them of Darren Galton, and then Nick Brace trying to go round Darren as well. Through goes Nicky Meredith, Pocklington, then it's Power followed by Darren Galton. Galton running wide, number 3. He's coming through as well, Ross Marshall. Ross started watching his dad, John Marshall, racing, former rally driver as well, John Marshall. And John did the first round at Brands Hatch, but haven't seen him since. Good to see John back out on track as well. Here's Nick Brace. Now this is a great little scrap between these 2 cars up front. Darren Galton, former kart driver, running well in car number 4, the Blue Machine. Used to run the white 34 car, and took over this one. I'm pretty sure it's the next John Higgins car actually. Darren Galton's running in car number 4. So he's enjoying his race at the moment. Nick Brace behind them. Brace is going to have a look down the inside here as they go through, but Ross Marshall just getting away now from Darren Galton. Closing stage. Oh, Ben Power! Little mistake there from Ben Power. Went very deep into the corner. You see a lot of drivers doing that. We saw Stephen Traherne doing it in race 1, and Power doing it there. But closing stages of this one, and out front, it's the 2 more Burnett cars. Sideways moment there from Ross Marshall in car number 3. Just keeping Ross certainly not in contention for the national championship this year, because he's concentrating on the Scottish. But here, with just the run down the hill and one more corner to go, is John Higgins with in second position. The Karcher car of Stephen Traherne in second position. But here comes John Higgins now, up across the line. Checkered flag is beckoning for John Higgins, and there it is. John Higgins takes win number 13 of 2008. Across the line in second position goes the number 11 car. Sorry, it's Simon Belcher, not Stephen Traherne, who takes second place. Great second for Simon Belcher from Lee Fitzpatrick. Stephen Traherne's 4th. Lawrence Davey comes home in 5th from Nicky Meredith. Richard Pocklington, Ben Power, Ross Marshall, Darren Galton, Nick Brace, Gerald McCosh in 12th from Matthew Pape, who recovered after facing the wrong way. Paul O'Brien as well. John Denning in 19th as well. Good to see John Denning here over from Ireland as well.
We've just had race 2, and we're just going to talk to the 2 boys here. Lee, you came 3rd, and John, you won. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How did you find that race?
Yeah, it was good. It was hard. I had to start off the back for this one, so I had pole for the first race. So yeah, it took my time working my way through. Got stuck up behind Lawrence for a little while. Should have just got past him, but I didn't. So yeah, and I managed to get through to 3rd, but John and Simon Belcher were well away.
Another victory for you, John?
Yeah, starting second row, inside. Just a case of getting your head down, Fitz and Stevens towards the back, and just trying to make a gap and get you pull it forward up where it needs to be, and that was the front of the field, and managed to pull a bit of a gap, and it was pretty comfortable to Simon, so yeah, happy.
So boys, a bit of an incident in the beginning of that race. Stephen?
Yeah, well, I was starting off towards the back of the field really. I think that was one of the last cars, and Matthew had a big spin coming out of one of the bends, and he did really good job to sort of keep it in a straight line as he was rolling backwards, because Lee went one way and I went the other. So luckily there wasn't a big crash, because I think it would have been like that. Then after that I just sort of got my head down and tried to sort of pick them all off, got up to about 4th place or something like that. But by then everything had sort of spread out by then, so there wasn't really much more I could do.
And Simon, you came 2nd. You're clearly improving throughout the day.
Yeah, again we were quick in that one. 3rd row of the grid, I think we were 5th on the grid, so I was really looking for a top 3 finish, and coming out the second lap I was up behind John in 2nd, and I suppose for the first 2/3 of the race I just pushed and tried to catch John, but the gap just didn't come down, and in the end I looked back and I thought, Lee's quite a long way back. If I make a mistake, Lee could get me, and it was more important to make sure that we came away with 2nd place, so I sort of consolidated what I had with John and just make sure the gap stayed the same all the way to the end, and make sure that I stayed in front of Lee, and that was good points at the end of the day.
Well, it was a good race for you both. Hi Peter, just a quick word. Tell me what happened in that second race with you and your car.
Obviously we were just coming up to the line, it went green and we put the foot down, and all of a sudden there was a big bang. What actually happened is that we lost the rear end of the drive flange off the back of the engine, This was a brand new engine just delivered last week, and we didn't really expect that. It has 2 little locking screws, and when it's been assembled on the tip of the locking nut here instead of on the flange, and it's come undone, and the rest of it is this. It just went bang.
Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that, Peter.
Yeah, well, it could have been worse actually, because all the train were just coming from behind us. Unfortunately, I just managed to dip the clutch and let somebody give me a big push straight onto the grass and get there, and we managed to avoid a big accident.
Yeah, thank God you didn't cause an accident in the races. We've actually been quite lucky today as accidents go. Are you going to be all right for tomorrow?
Yeah, we should be all right tomorrow. You know, it's a good paddock this. We've been able to go around and ask around. There's been a lot of good help out there, and they've given us the parts that we need, and we should be out there tomorrow.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad to hear that. Thanks for talking to us.
All right, love.
Thank you.
Final time here then on the international circuit, and it's Brian Cook on pole position. You're just looking at him right of screen. Left on his outside, his teammate 66 Steve Whiteleg. There is 99 Brian Cook, 66 Steve Whiteleg in the mix as well. Second row we've got, I think that's Paul Mansell on the outside line, and number 4 Darren Galton looking around the outside. But look at this very crowded start when you get the lower point scoring drivers at the front. And Ben Power going through there. Ben Power, Nicky Meredith up the inside of 16. Richard Bolton took a little bit of a touch there on those 2 cars. But it's Steve Whiteleg that leads. But for how long? Brian Cook's been tagged by 59. Paul Mansell tags him. Mansell and Cook, those 2 drivers having very little in the way of luck this year. Poor old Brian Cook, I thought he was going to be on for a good finish there. And Mansell tags him, he's out of it as well. Oh, Nicky Meredith, he's in the drifting championship. The drifting championship comes to Anglesey. Well held Nicky, Brian Cook and Mansell rejoining at the back. But Darren Galton, erstwhile leader, goes wide. Steve Whiteleg's trying to get round the outside of him there. In second, beg your pardon, it was Lawrence Davey in the mix as well. He's all going bang into the back. Davey. Now, was there contact from behind for Lawrence Davey as well, because he spun out? Davey in 19 spins. It's all happening in these reverse grid final. Steve Whiteleg running well in 66. It's so good to see some of the drivers who don't have the luck in the heats at the front see what they can do. And Steve Whiteleg's running well. A newcomer to Legends. I can tell you Steve Whiteleg's done far races races than the rest of them around him at the front of the field at the moment. So he's doing well, hanging on to that 3rd spot. Now then, behind him, championship leading, Lee Fitzpatrick coming up the inside. Fitzpatrick hard on the brakes and through into 4th position. Steve Whiteleg down into 4th rather. Lee Fitzpatrick into 3rd. Then it's Whiteleg followed by now one of the Karcher cars making his way down this. In fact, both of them. Now who's in front? Simon Belcher is the leading Karcher car. Screwed that up at the end of the line. And through goes number 12, Stephen Traherne. Whiteleg's being attacked from all angles. Up the inside, Whiteleg loses 3 places there in one straight. Now it's Nick Brace behind him. Then Matthew Pape, the green and white car. Nicky Meredith after a big sideways moment. Very spectacular indeed. So we look at Simon Belcher. Now 111 could be referred to as a plane, couldn't it? But 111 here. The 2 drivers, Simon Belcher, the former jet ski champion, leading John Higgins. Belcher's got bags of experience. Took his first win in 7 years of national championship Legends racing at Brands Hatch last year. Got the pace, and when he's on a smooth day, Simon, he's absolutely quick as anything, and I think he's having a great day today. Remember, 4th in race 1, 2nd in the 2nd race of the day. Now on board with Lee Fitzpatrick. Look at this camera angle we can give you right underneath the bumper. And there's Simon Belcher up the inside of Darren Galton, but it's going to be the outside line for the next kick. Oh, through he goes. John Higgins coming through as well. Then Stephen Traherne is making the most of that. Stephen Traherne using his racecraft to realise that Higgins was going to go through on the inside of the blue 4 car. So at the moment, Higgins the meat in a Handy Motorsport sandwich, and John Higgins in car number 1, the U-Pull-It Ford, trying to go through. Higgins will be a relatively local track for him. I think the only other track that's nearer for him is Alton Park. John married to Karen, his 3 children, Amy, Jordan, and the 3rd generation John as well, who I think will be a motor racing driver. I think Jordan's already having a little bit of practice in karting, and John talking about sticking his son Jordan in cadet karts next year, which would be something to see. But at the moment it's Ross Marshall, the Scottish Championship leader, in front from Lee Fitzpatrick. Now not for long though, because here comes Lee Fitzpatrick, powered his way down. This is the outside line on the corner. Ross Marshall on the inside. Now has he gone through? He has. I think he's got his nose in front. It's going to be the outside for the next corner. Ross Marshall possibly won't want to interfere here because he's got his teammate John Higgins there as well. but Ross Marshall is fighting John Higgins. Fitzpatrick takes the lead. Ross Marshall goes wide, kicks up the dirt in second place, and Higgins round the outside of. Oh, he's going round the outside of Fitzpatrick as well. Round the banking, this is one place where, particularly in the wet, you can take either line, and because it's banked, sometimes you can have a little go round the outside. Now John Higgins looks like he's on fire in this round, doesn't it? Metaphorically, not literally, of course. Now then, here we go, the top 5. Now, first place, Lee Fitzpatrick. Second, Higgins. Third, Marshall. Fourth is Belcher. Fifth, Traherne. Now, let's see how it all pans out. Look at the suspension working hard on the John Higgins car. Lee Fitzpatrick gets a moment's respite. 2 Archer cars bearing down on the 3 Burnett cars out front into the left, right, King. Now then, both the drivers out front have won races. It only took them a couple of laps to get to the front in this one. I think I should have the top guy starting at the back in all the races if I was organising it, but here we go. It's Lee Fitzpatrick. Only a suggestion, fellas. Here they come down the hill, and John Higgins challenging for the lead. Ross Marshall still there at the moment, being a little bit of a spoiler. Simon Belcher in 4th place. Stephen Traherne in 5th. Then it's Darren Galton running very well in 6th place. Darren Galton, well, you've got to say Darren's going to be due a race win before too long. Here comes the number 2 car of Lee Fitzpatrick still in front. Around the 180-degree turn, down the hill they go. Paddock area is just on the outside of the circuit here to the right of the camera as we look. We'll be back racing after this short break.